So one thing is that if you get to the interview and you have a gap on your resume, it wasn't a deal breaker. So that's the first thing that you need to know is that if you get to the interview and you have that gap and they're asking about it, they're just curious. It wasn't a deal breaker because if it was, they wouldn't be interviewing you.
Role play, you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. So if you can give me what you would do, and then I'll do some interview questions. So my first question for you. You see an ad for a job posted on LinkedIn. Do you send them a message? And if so, how do you craft it and what do you say?
Do you send them a message? Absolutely you do. And guys,
And who do you talk to, by the way?
Okay, so on LinkedIn, sometimes it'll actually have the recruiter linked with the job.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, go ahead and message them. That's like a green flag saying, hey, you can message me. And y'all, if you see any recruiters who are like, I'm so sick of people messaging me, they're just bad recruiters. Recruiters love when people message them.
I agree.
Their job is to get qualified candidates in seats. So anyway.
Or they're getting so many messages that are bad.
Yeah.
And so they're sick and tired
But if
of
you're
that.
qualified, absolutely message them. If you're not, don't. But anyway, you should absolutely message them, at least them. And then also, people put too much focus on the recruiter. Department heads actually make like the decision.
Yeah.
Like they're the people who actually are like, this is the person I need in my team. Recruiters just curate. So message them and also find like the department head and any alumni you know who work at that company because they might be able to get a referral bonus. Anyway, you're going to message that recruiter. And all you're going to say is, hi, my name is Erin. I'm a video editor based in New York City with 7+ years of experience, and I specialize in commercial editing. Let's say it's for a commercial editing job. I just wanted to put a face to an application. Thank you so much for your consideration. I look forward to hearing back from you.
Boom.
That's it.
And it was personal kind of to the job, but you can copy and paste that.
Yeah. I would just,
change
obviously I'm giving you a specific example.
Yeah.
But if you're applying, in that scenario, I'd be applying for a commercial video editing job. And I used all of those keywords in the message.
Yep. Beautiful. Okay.
Boom.
You get into an interview. You have a gap on your resume. How do you say, how do you respond to what is this gap doing on your resume?
Yeah, it's a good question. So one thing is that if you get to the interview and you have a gap on your resume, it wasn't a deal breaker. So that's the first thing that you need to know is that if you get to the interview and you have that gap and they're asking about it, they're just curious. It wasn't a deal breaker because if it was, they wouldn't be interviewing you.
Yeah, I mean, again, as somebody who hires somebody, I agree. And I'm asking because I'm curious more of like, did you do something fun?
Yeah, were you freelancing? Were you taking your side hustle full time? Were you traveling Europe?
Because it shows that you're willing to maybe take risks or to like do something.
Yeah.
Or even just like, you know what? I needed a fucking break. Great. Okay.
Awesome.
We all get that.
Just have a good explanation. I think the key to this is saying, I intentionally made a lifestyle decision. I intentionally made a lifestyle decision to go to Europe for 3 months. I climbed this mountain, I did this thing, and it was amazing. And now I'm back and I couldn't be more ready to dive back in.
Yeah.
If you're scared, they'll be scared. So you just need to be like, I did this thing, it was awesome.
Right. Own it.
I intentionally made a lifestyle decision to stay home with my young children. It was amazing. During that time, I kept up with all the industry news. I gained this skill and now I'm back.
Yep.
Ready to dive in.
Yep. Love that. You quit a job with a toxic boss. How do you gently answer the tell me why you're leaving your current job question? And I have a response for this too. I'll see if ours are similar. Because I've had to answer it.
Yeah. It's tough because you really want to talk shit. You really do. The thing is that it unfortunately doesn't reflect positively on you to talk shit to a stranger about someone that they also don't know. Or worst case scenario, they might know. Or I guess best case scenario, because anyway.
Yep.
I always just recommend being positive in interviews. I think it's safer to be positive and to just say, it wasn't a good fit. There was a change in the management style at that company that no longer fit my goals.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking to move on to something better. And that's why I'm so excited to be here interviewing at Spotify or whatever it is.
We have very similar answers.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, what's yours?
Mine is it's like a different excuse basically, which is like, I really didn't see a future in terms of my own career development at the company, which is my boss cut me at the knees and was awful. So yeah, I really didn't see a future in terms of me progressing. And that is something that I'm really passionate about. And I can see from this job description and from my research I've done at Spotify that you support the company in this way or the employees in this way. You've done this and that, and you support them with a sabbatical. And I'm really excited to see that growth. And so that's why I'm here talking to you. It's very similar. It's like
We both kept it really positive.
Right. And it's also like, it's a perfect example of I've done my research. I care about this organization. And it's also kind of like a fuck you to them of like, don't you dare do what you did or that happened to me prior. Don't you dare do that again.
Yeah.
And you say that you support employees in this way. So I'm really excited to watch you back it up.
Yeah.
You know?
Super excited. You say this on your website. Let's see if it's actually the case.
Yeah. No, it's the same thing. And it's also and now I'm so excited. I'm so excited. It sounds like you guys are so committed to career development. And even that's a perfect opportunity to then go, I saw this on the website and this. Can you tell me other ways that you are focused on employee career development?
I saw you're a family first company. Is that in the good way or the bad way? Let's figure it out.
Yeah. But then it's like a conversation too, which I think is so great.
Absolutely.
Let's do the impossible questions. What is your greatest weakness?
All right. 10-90 rule, y'all. 10% of the answer naming the weakness, something realistic but not a deal breaker for the role. 90% of the time talking about how you're working on it.
Yep.
I got a lot of weaknesses, Tori. I'm working on all of them. I say like a lot.
You haven't really in this interview.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I've done more research about it because I used to be I like drilled it out of myself. I have different vocal cues that I will not say on the podcast because as soon as I say them, that's all you'll hear. But I do think it's actually very gendered because I think we get shit.
I have a lot to say on this actually as far as genders go. I'm working on a project right now. I'm doing some writing. And part of the writing is I'm talking about how I'm calling them language softeners. So anyway, you know what I mean?
I think
all language softeners, women use them to come off less intimidating.
Yeah.
And I actually, if I was doing this podcast, I'd be happy to talk like this. I intentionally speak with likes and ums because if I don't, people get weird with me.
Yeah. You want to be accessible. You want to be approachable. You want to be
content is relatable. My content is friendly.
Right.
So if I talk
that's one of the reasons I curse on this show.
You have your code and I have my code.
Yeah.
And they're part of our brands. And when you're at work, you're going to have a brand too. There's nothing wrong with using language softeners because otherwise I sound like I'm preaching.
Yeah.
I sound like I'm giving a TED talk.
Right.
But I'm not. I'm having a conversation with Tori. Language softeners, I'm actually a really big fan of as long as you are using them with intention. You can't...
As opposed to mindless.
Yeah. Or, women get cut off a lot.
Yeah.
That's why we say because we want people to know we're still talking. So it's extremely gendered. And, I also see it affect men who are softer spoken too. I don't think it's just women, but majority of the time, I'd say it's women. I would say something I'm currently working on improving are my delegation skills.
Guys, it's just how the wording of that.
Mm-hmm. Something I'm currently actively working on improving about myself are my delegation skills. I tend to think it'll just be easier for me to do everything, but I know that in order to advance into more senior roles in my career, I need to master delegation. So currently, I am reading a leadership book that's teaching me tangible delegation skills, and I'm working to delegate one thing a week.
Mamma mia. That was great. That was perfect. Yep. It's always about what I've learned, what I'm doing. Yep.
How you're working on yourself. And
do not say, I work too hard and care too much. Speaking of Michael Scott, do not say that.
But also, don't say delegation if you're applying for a manager role.
Don't say what? Delegation?
Don't say delegation if you are applying for a manager job.
Yeah, because that's a huge red flag.
Read the room. Yeah. I would say that for a technical job or a specialized job. If you are applying to be a firefighter, don't say you don't work well under pressure. If you are applying to be a copywriter, don't say that grammar is your, and
typos. If it truly is a weakness, that might tell you that maybe this is not a good career path for you.
Yeah, if communication and you're a consultant, maybe.
Right.
Maybe you got to do something else.
I hate writing. I'm about to be a copywriter. Not great for you. Okay. What is your salary expectation, Erin?
I want to hear your answer, Tori.
I think we have the same answer.
I would say I'm flexible depending on other elements of the compensation package. I'd love to get aligned. But of course, it depends.
Yeah.
If they list it in the job description, which I think 22 states now legally have to.
Yes, they do.
A little different. But I always like to keep it open. If you have to give a range, have the bottom end of that range be the number you want, and to say that you can be flexible depending on other elements of the compensation package, because that's true.
Yeah.
If they're giving massive bonuses or a huge 401k match, or it's a flexible job, there's a monetary value attached to that.
Yep. And again, what you just said, which I want to call out, what you want or what you've realized your research says you should want should be where the floor is, not the highest, not even your that should not be where you're at.
Yeah. That reminds me, going back to side hustles, something I told somebody yesterday that blew their mind was your salary isn't the ceiling, it's the floor. Everybody thinks I get paid $75,000 a year, so I am $75,000 a year. And it's like,
You have taxes.
Well, you have taxes. But I'm saying you can go out and get a side hustle. You know? So you could make $85,000 this year if you picked up $10,000 worth of, dog walking or whatever. So, but again, that abundance mindset of like, don't identify yourself by your salary. You can always go out and make more money.
Yeah. Okay, my last one for you. This is the one that drives me bonkers. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I do not ask this. I hate this question.
Yeah, I just think it's lazy. I think
agree.
They should ask, what are some goals that you have? What are some things you're interested in doing in your overall career?
Yep.
Be much less lazy. I say that as somebody who has a free 5-year plan template. I'm a big fan of making 5-year plans, to be honest.
Really?
As an act of self-love and not necessarily something to stick to. I think thinking about future you is a way of self-care.
No, I completely agree with that. Just for me, as someone who is very type A, if I would have aligned myself, again, I thought, VP of marketing by 30, girl boss my way up the ladder. If that 5-year plan paid off, I'd be miserable and I wouldn't like my life very much. But if I kept the blinders on, that's what I would have gotten.
Yep.
So I don't like the 5-year question because it's more like it cuts you off from any possibility.
Oh, I got a great answer for you then.
Great. Okay.
The way I approach the 5-year plan question is, first of all, I like to make a little joke. Like, haha, I don't even know what I'm eating for lunch tomorrow. Haha.
And then you come in with the fucking best answer they've ever heard.
You just murder him.
Yeah.
You soften them but I like to say, like, while I like to keep things flexible and I like to be adaptable, like as we've seen, the world can be very unpredictable with COVID and AI. There's always new things happening. You have to be adaptable. I do have specific goals. And after you say that you have specific goals, name something big.
Yeah.
I want to be in a position of leadership where I'm leading a creative team to create projects that really align with me and make me feel very fulfilled.
Yeah.
Don't get too specific. The more specific you get, the more trouble you can get into because they'll have more things to attach to that they don't like. Just keep it vague. I want to be in a position where I feel like I'm contributing to, and then describe what this role is.
Yeah.
Music to their ears.
I think one of the things too that I both tend to answer when I get, because I get that question in like regular interviews and I fucking hate it. Stop asking me that question. But it's also, I think that I kind of look for when I'm hiring, and again, I don't ask this question in specifics, but is something like, here are what my career goals are. And then also, here's what I'm excited about outside of work. Like, and again, you don't have to be super specific because, again, as soon as you bring up children, some employers get weird. But you can just say, like, I hope that I am living a life and surrounded by people who support me. I hope, I'm happy and fulfilled. And, I hope that I've traveled to this place. And but again, it shows me that one, you have a life outside work, which is what I do want that for you. I want that as your employer. I want that as a person. But two, it shows that you have other things, you have hobbies, you have passions, and that you are a well-rounded person.
It's always important in an interview to understand the question behind the question.
Yeah.
So they're not actually asking, what's your 5-year plan? They don't actually care about your 5-year plan. All they care about is, are they going to stick around?
Yeah.
And if they are going to stick around, are they going to thrive here?
Yes.
Because you don't want to hire somebody whose plan in 5 years is different than what you would want somebody in that role. Like, if they say they want to go work for your competitor, okay, yeah, maybe don't hire them. Or if they say they, want to be in a different industry, like these are all red flags. So you need to understand what they're really asking is, what is this person planning on doing in their career?
Yeah.
And does that align with what we need in this role?
Totally.